Howdy, y'all, and welcome to Liberty Libations number 61. Joined as usual by Alden, Hardee, Nick Ciesieslki, and Zane, Placie. Nick, welcome back for the first time in a very long time for a full show.
Yeah, it's been a while. Nerd meetings finally have gone back to every other week, so we're doing pretty good.
There we go. All right, what are you drinking tonight, Nick?
Made some mead.
All right,
so
a bottle.
So what I actually did on this one was, because I'm trying to experiment with it, I actually made 3 gallons, and it's the same honey in it and everything, but I just use different yeasts in each one of them. So
that's quite a bit of mead.
Are you testing for flavor or ABV?
Yeah, I'm trying to see, well, ABV and flavor, and just kind of get a good feeling on maybe what to use going in the future for certain things.
Nice.
Interesting. All right, Alden, what are you drinking?
Nothing that cool. Tom Collins, but with hibiscus syrup, so it's a purple Tom Collins.
All right. Zane, what do you got going on?
Well, in honor of our third show topic of the night, I figured I'd make myself a Moscow Mule.
And I'm drinking our unofficial sponsor for the night, which is Rabbit Eye Wine. Thank you, Mr. Will Bell. Got that at convention this year.
Who might be having a kid right now?
What's that?
And he might be hopping in live. Might be having a kid right now and might hop in live from the delivery room.
Oh, let's hope he doesn't. Let's pray that doesn't happen tonight. All right, y'all.
Is he having a kid though?
What up, Grumpy?
Is that part true at least?
Yeah, he said that sometime this week, but it might be tonight the way things are looking. So,
gosh, I hope he's playing our podcast in the delivery room.
He's coming on.
This could be the first thing that his child hears.
I mean, listening to Zane talk about man, economy, and state, I can't think of anything better.
Yeah.
Gotta start them young.
Well, y'all, for anybody out there who wants to learn more about the Libertarian Party of Georgia, go to lpgeorgia.com. But we have something else to promote tonight. Mr. Zach Varnell, let's put that up on screen. Shane Hazel, call to action. If you ever thanked anyone for their service, we need you to take some action and let the Georgia senators know. This is about defend the guard. Zach, you want to speak to it and tell people how to do this?
Basically, defend the guard has been introduced by Colton Moore in the Georgia Senate here. And its first stop is the Interstate Cooperation Committee, because that's a thing. And Colton chairs that, but then these 4 senators here are on the committee, so it needs to get out of here to even make it to a vote. So we're encouraging people to please contact these senators, call these numbers, and just tell them that you're in favor of Defend the Guard, SB 462, and tell them your thoughts on that. For anyone just listening, these senators are Donzella James, Emmanuel Jones, Jason Estevez, and Freddie Powell Sims.
Love it. Heck yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't,
go ahead, Nick.
Go into some detail on Defend the Guard, or
go for it.
Basically, what Defend the Guard does, it's been introduced in 30 states, I believe now, and it's passed the Senate in Arizona last year, the House in New Hampshire last year. Just got voted out of committee to the Senate floor again in Arizona. It's popping up all across the country, and what it does is basically tells the federal government, hey, you can't deploy our National Guard without a formal declaration of war. So it's really checking the power of the Pentagon, especially since I believe the number in the global wars on terror, all the Middle East stuff for the past 20 years, it's been, I think, 45% of forces over there have been National Guard. So like states pushing this and putting it through makes a huge difference, and is going to have to be something they really have to take into account before playing with these forever wars.
Yeah, and it's much more practical to send your National Guard to Texas, to help defend against the federal government. That's far more important than
right. So we're pushing this. The guys that bring our troops home.us have kind of been the ones leading this. they train everyone up great, and then they want you to then they just encourage everyone to join in with them, and you make phone calls. If you're from Georgia, definitely call. If you're not from Georgia, get a Google Voice number and pretend you're from Georgia.
Yeah.
And just call and call and call and blow up their phone lines because they can't ignore that. And,
yes, and definitely do the Google Voice thing because they don't like it when you call from a Texas number. He questioned me for one of the guys questioned me for like 10 minutes just about where I live and why I have a Texas phone number.
See, I was going to call, even though I have a PA number. It's like, well, this is the one time like I could have a solid backstory and know Georgia fairly well that I could.
Yeah.
I know my former address. I know.
There we go.
I can tell a whole
you could totally
backstory,
do that.
right? So
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, we call them, and if their phones are blowing up all day, I know in the Arizona Senate last year, the one senator basically came out on the phone and was like, it would be political suicide to not support this bill. And that's how you have to make them feel. You have to make them feel. You have to make it hurt for them to want to oppose it. And so, you know, you have to overcome. You know, they're going to have the Pentagon coming in and telling them this and that, and you know, Secretary of Defense. I mean, if this thing starts getting there, so like, they're going to need a whole bunch of pressure coming in from the voters to say, no, you have to do this, otherwise there will be repercussions. You will not keep that job if you don't support this. And they have to know that loud and clear. And when they know that, they act in their best interest.
As most people do. You know, that's why we want government as small as humanly possible.
Maybe it was naive on my part, but I used to think the National Guard was strictly for like domestic use, like not.
You would think.
Well, it's in the name. I would have thought or whatever, and it was not that long ago that I realized that they were being deployed. I didn't realize that the percentage that Nick was saying, like 45 or something, is it's just crazy.
Wild, it's crazy. Exactly. Let's put those numbers back up there real quick, so people can get a screenshot of that if whoever's watching or listening. And I'm going to repeat the names. It's Donzella James, Emmanuel Jones, Jason Estevez, and Freddie Powell Sims. Get on there, call them. Don't stop calling them. They will actually talk to you. They're somewhat reasonable. I mean, half the time they don't answer, but if their phone keeps going off over and over and over and over and over, they're going to end up answering at some point in time. So just bombard them with calls.
I think there was some confusion with some of these numbers earlier. Staffers were answering, and so the people were getting different names, you know, someone not, which you expect staffers to answer, but apparently it wasn't being made clear when they were answering that they were a staffer for.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, that makes sense. Definitely some of them will try to avoid taking your phone call. What's up, Zach?
Yeah, I'd also like to point out what Nick did today, which was submit a letter to the editor, which I know like that sounds like something we did in the 1800s and it's no longer relevant. But you're getting, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars worth of advertising space for your issue when you do that. Because, you know, look up the rates to place an ad and then compare that to the column space you get just by submitting 200 or 400 words or whatever it is to your local news station or your newspaper. You know, so this is a great opportunity. Almost anybody can put out 200 words and sound good. And these things get published all the time.
Yeah, not to mention, but like when someone if someone, you know, one of these reps does a Google News search and types defend the guard and Georgia into Google News, what's going to come up? News about defend the guard. And what's going to be there? Your letter to the editor is going to be showing up there because probably not much else will. But if multiple people in Georgia have those in multiple papers, that's what's going to show up, and people are going to look and go, oh, there's support from across the state here. It's showing up in the newspapers. So
heck yeah. Is there going to be an article on libertytwist.com, Zach, you think?
Probably, yeah. I'm sure I'll put all my thoughts there.
There we go. Love it. All right, y'all, get out there, call these folks, harass them endlessly. They work for you, but nicely. Be nice, but harass them endlessly.
They can't stand it when they're getting overwhelmed with phone calls and everyone's being nice.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah,
They prefer you scream at them and call them names. That way they can just write you off in their head.
Yep. No, be as nice as humanly possible. You don't get anywhere just by threatening people and being rude. Like, it's much better just to kill them with kindness, and let's go from there. So yeah, thanks, Nick, for all the work you've been doing with that. I've seen you in the chats and everything. So, all right. Well, should we get to our first story?
Sure.
Muckraker. They released a 40-minute video on YouTube, Rumble, all their channels. Hang on. There we go. And it basically, this guy right here, I forget his name now. I watched the whole daggum thing today and I can't remember his name. But he was embedded with a migrant caravan that came up from South America all the way to the United States, asking them questions along the way, documenting the entire process. There were some very worrying and interesting things that happened on this trip. Zach, can we skip about 4 minutes in, I think? 4 minutes in or so. I just want to watch. Let's just watch a couple minutes of it, and then we'll move on to their website.
They just trek up to the United States on foot in mass caravans. They don't have much money. The Chinese are very well funded. They're the ones that are taking planes. We're right across the street from an airport right now. And they also have established networks. And this hotel that we're at is proof of that. It's all Chinese. And for some reason, they all know to come here. It's because they are in direct communication. People that are further up the trail or that have made it to this is a hotel that's safe for you. We also found we were staying at this hotel. They're expecting Chinese. You could see a lot of the writings, a lot of the signs in this hotel are written in Chinese. Again, this is further proof that it's not by accident.
In South America.
It's not just some sort of one-off occasion that there's all of these Chinese nationals here at this point. This is a known hub.
Yeah, they're supposed to speak German in South America.
For Chinese that are in transit on their way to the United States. We spoke with the Chinese national who's staying here right now, who's going to be trekking through the Darien Gap and going up to the United States.
Yeah, I mean, they go through the daggum Darien Gap.
Or Los Angeles. And he told us that.
All right, skip ahead to about 20. I think it was 24.
United States.
No, a little before that. He was in the jungle. He was in the jungle before that. Maybe 18.
I got to the point of him in the jungle. I fell asleep while watching it, but I got to the jungle part.
Enthralling TV, I guess.
Well, I was watching it late at night the other night.
He documents this entire process, y'all, and like he's there just like them. He doesn't have like support. It's just him and one other dude. They're just being actual journalists, documenting their
day number 2,
documenting their time there.
Yeah. Okay.
We're inside the Darien Gap. It's day 2. We're about 6 or 7 hours.
How nervous would you be doing that?
Right now it's pouring rain.
The Darien Gap, that's some wild stuff.
We've been filming.
Yeah, you can pause it, Zach.
And
so anyway, I don't know how many of y'all have watched any of that.
I scrubbed through and watched like sections of it.
But my gosh, I don't know. Alden, what are your thoughts on just that whole process of that there's a constant stream of people coming up from South America?
So something that made sense to me after the fact was because you're talking about going into and then out of Mexico, like across our border, that he was surprised at first when they got to the end and there was no Mexican police or anything at this like public park that's like on the Rio Grande. And then he's like, at the end, he's like, oh no, it actually makes a lot of sense. If there's so many people coming into Mexico from the south, then of course they need the outflow to balance it out, so they don't do anything at their side.
Right. Yeah, they don't want them to leave. I mean,
they do want in and out kind of thing. Yeah. Because he said that he was surprised that there was no one there, and they were there for hours. Like,
right.
They had food service. People were like setting up shop and almost like vendor stuff, like while they were there at the border. It was
the market provides.
Kind of crazy,
dude. Every like stopping point along the way, there was a bunch of people selling all sorts of goods.
Yeah.
Like, there was sunscreen and knives and clothing and food. Obviously, there's just like it's a small economy.
That's essentially what Zane is just saying too. And like when you have that many people consistently in one area, I mean, like everyone knows it, and so they go there to sell. And anyway.
Yeah, it's wild. Nick, you watched a bunch of it. What do you think?
Well, between that and some other stuff I've seen, heard, listened to, watched recently, it's fascinating, but it's also extremely, if we were to wade into the immigration debate on this,
We are
you know,
going.
there's well, let's just say I think there's a difference, when you, even on the open border side, I think there's a huge difference between saying, oh well, people who decide to come here and crossing borders is one thing, but who take the initiative and do it on their own. But when you want to talk about the NGOs down there,
Yeah,
that are pumping the money in and being funded by our tax dollars. So our tax dollars
UNHCR,
end up,
IOM.
yeah,
Yeah.
IOM is a big one. Yeah. So our tax dollars go to pay for these NGOs to basically give everyone supplies, give everyone the money, give everyone everything, to then en masse come up to the border, cross in, and then they get distributed throughout the country to these cities like New York, who have this, right to housing, where then, oh, well, now you're here, so you have a right to housing. So here's your house. Well, here's a place to live. Here's food. Here's education. Here's this. Here's that. All on the taxpayer's dollar.
Yeah, we're literally paying for
talk
it all.
about theft. You're talking about it. Now, I think even on the open border side, you have to look and go, this is not free movement. This is subsidized government policy movement. This is not,
not only are they giving them selling them or giving them supplies, depending on the organization, but they're telling them how to get on a train without anybody seeing you and how to travel.
Do you know that scene in the beginning of the movie, The Incredibles, when he is working in insurance, when he gets a regular job and he's helping all the old ladies or whatever, he's talk to this person, don't talk to that person, whatever. He's giving them the inside scoop. I feel like it's that kind of a thing.
Yeah. No, it is.
Someone's very much got their back on the inside there, but
it's so weird, man. It's such a strange video. What do you got, Zane?
Yeah, so I've heard some stats about how, since most immigrants that are coming here, don't get a social security number, then they actually don't get some benefits that they would if, they were actually a citizen. So, how much are these immigrants actually taking out in welfare compared to how much they're putting in through, if they actually get a job. Right. And I haven't done a deep dive into those stats, but it does seem, at least right now, that there are large groups of people that are getting huge amounts of benefits in terms of everything Nick was saying: for free transportation, free housing, free, X, Y, and Z. And it's even if 10 years ago, it was the case that most of the people that were here illegally were actually, working and not and not living off the government dole. I think that, advertising to everybody, here's how you get in here. And then once you're here, here's how you take advantage of all these government services. That is not an Ellis Island immigration policy, because the Ellis Island immigration policy is that we'll let you in, but we're not going to give you squat.
Yes. Yeah. You have
and now the policy for a large group of people now seems to be come in and we're going to transport you to Martha's Vineyard.
Yes. And not only that, we're going to displace American citizens to house you.
I was going to bring up.
What New York City, where I think that was, where they shut the school down and did remote learning because, well, we got to house the immigrants there. And it's so not only are you fleeced to pay for the NGOs who taught them, who basically gave them the supplies to make the trip here, and then taught them how to cross in and claim asylum and do everything else that would allow them to stay pending a court date in 5-10 years, whatever it is, and then pay for housing and transportation and food and everything, but then pay then you don't even get the public school you're forced to pay for.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. I mean, it's wild.
it's
wild.
just absolutely it's insanity. And I don't know how you argue a different side of that. Like,
Yeah.
I understand the urge of, I understand the open border urge, but that's not what we're talking about here. This is not the Ellis Island, or, you know, hey, if you're willing to work hard and come in and put in the work, this is, I mean, there were stories saying that, you know, not only are they given all this, but there's a lot of complaints and grumbling from said immigrants getting all the welfare, that they're not getting good enough stuff.
Good Lord.
I'm pretty flexible on the border itself, like argument. Like I can kind of go multiple ways on it. I can hear good points from either side, but it doesn't make sense to me to give someone tax-funded benefits that if they aren't then citizens yet, or tax-paying citizens, that doesn't make sense, especially when there's a finite pool of resources and you're taking from citizens already. So more on just the side of, we got a lot of, it's like that classic, you know, we got a lot of our own problems kind of thing or whatever. But like, I'm not even the, you know, the most strict on, like, I'm not Mr. Build a Wall or whatever. And so I don't know. Yeah.
I like that all is one word. That's great.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm sympathetic to a lot of arguments on here, but I'm just looking at what this is, and
yeah,
like I said, this is not open borders. It's not the libertarian argument of open borders. This is government funded immigration.
Yeah, it's incentivizing and funding people to come here, and it's so many people in that video were not
internationally funded.
I've seen the arguments. Well, we, you know, American citizens, you know, people in America take up, you know, on welfare in America take up more money. Yeah, and yeah, well, we don't want them on welfare either. So
yes,
why are you arguing that? Well, each individual immigrant takes less welfare than one American on welfare, so it's fine to let them in. But no, we want less people on welfare. We want to get away from that system. And your argument is then, well, it doesn't matter if we just add some more people to that system.
Yep.
As long as we have open borders. It's absolutely insanity to me.
Yeah. Zane, what do you think the libertarian position on this particular scenario, like based on the video?
Oh, I mean, what's the old joke? If you ask 5 libertarians, you'll get 10 different opinions. So I don't think, I mean, anybody who watched a debate from a couple of weeks ago at the convention knows that there is not one position that is the libertarian position. You know, there's my position, which I would like to be the libertarian position.
My position is the libertarian position, because I'm the only real libertarian here.
Yeah, because everybody knows that I am the one true libertarian. But like there are kind of levels to what the correct answer should be, depending on, you know, whether what current conditions you're saying that we still have to have, because, you know, ultimately in Ancapistan, you know, you can go onto any person's private property that you're invited onto. So if somebody invites you to their house or invites you to their place of work to work for them, then you get to go there, and, you know, the only borders that exist are the borders around people's private property.
Right.
And whereas, you know, we're a very long way away from that. So, you know, we can have that as the ideal, but we can also recognize that if we go around advocating for that, that's not a workable solution in the short term.
Right.
So it's like, if it's kind of like, what's the closest that we can get to that?
Right.
You know, stipulating that we live in the real world and we don't live in a fantasy world. And I think the best solution in the short term would be to stop advertising to immigrants how much in handouts we're going to give them.
Yes. I mean,
we're using taxpayer money to advertise to them how much free stuff they're going to get if they make the trip.
Correct. Because that's got to be the biggest incentive, is how much we're going to take care of them once they get here, which is not part of the deal for
I mean, that's basic
immigrants coming to
economics. Anything you tax, you get more, you get less of, and anything you subsidize, you get more of.
Yep.
That's,
Yep. And we're subsidizing the crap out of this, man. That whole video, it gave me very so like Christianity talks a lot about, well, a little bit about like no borders, no centralized state should have borders and like control who gets to go where. And so that's one of the biggest conflicts for me internally is my Christianity versus libertarianism, which they kind of align in this scenario. But then again, like you said, this isn't just
Depends on what libertarian you ask.
doing what they want to do. It's people incentivized and sometimes told to do what they are doing by coming across the border. It's just a wild scenario that we have.
but there's also, you know, accepting someone in and voluntarily helping them versus at the point of the government gun being forced to.
Yep.
You know, it's completely, and from that part, from the, you know, that side, basically, you know, receiving stolen goods in order to do that. I mean, there's a whole bunch of.
How do you feel about
this might be a great discussion topic for another time. You know, the interplay between Christianity and libertarianism. I think that they're in perfect harmony. Of course, that's a kind of a self-serving thing to think, given that I'm both. But I think that they both, you know, that they're. I think that I'm not going to say that you're not a Christian if you're not a libertarian, but you can, you know, be not in conflict with any scripture and hold libertarian beliefs. Like a lot of people will just say, haha, Romans 13, checkmate libertarian. And, you know, we can have that conversation. I don't think that it means what
I had part of that conversation with Gordon Runyon on the Free Georgia podcast.
What's the principle of Romans 13? I'm a Satanist, apparently, so
I got to look up the exact quote, or otherwise I'm going to get it wrong.
Zane,
but while you're doing that, just on the immigration topic, like it's just important to keep in mind that all of these people are human beings, and we should care about them to the extent that, you know, it's better for people to you know, be successful and be provided for. But it's just that, you know, in encouraging people to come here and live off the dole, I think in the long run is not really good for them. Correct. Given that we're commanded to work and be fruitful. Yeah. And, you know, if the best way for somebody to do that is to come to the United States and work, then that's great. But, you know, and so much of our immigration problems are due to all of our interference into South America, which has made it a place with lots of drug violence and gangs and governments that don't respect the rule of law. So,
and the drug violence.
If it weren't for America's foreign policy, you know, Latin America would be a much better place to stay put and work in. So there's that element too.
Yes, which we actually will get to that later on in this episode. I'm just going to read it for Alden.
Sure.
Can read that whole thing. Let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and you will be commended. For the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also as a matter of conscience.
I don't like that.
Well, the interpretation that people tend to take is the one that you're talking about, you're reacting to right now. But it is incorrect. That last line, therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities. That is not. If you go listen to the episode that I did with Gordon Runyon, he explains exactly what that means.
So was this, what language was this? Is this Hebrew originally? Is this a translate? Because there's a lot of the times issues.
This
with
originally would have been in Greek.
Okay, because I didn't know what part this was, like old or new or whatever.
It would have been translated a few times, and it has options right here for Hebrew and Greek. Which is
the parts written in Greek are usually a little bit less like varying in their translation. The parts in Hebrew are sometimes a little different, but
submissive, it's the same word that people get upset about, like wives submit to their husbands, and it doesn't mean be obedient to. It means joyfully be their serve them in the best way possible, if they're doing the correct thing, if they're doing the right thing according to God and the scriptures. And so when he's saying submit to the authorities, well, if they're doing evil things, don't submit to the authorities, because you can't do that.
But then isn't then ultimately what it's saying is we don't even then need authorities if we all know what's right, and if there's the risk of an authority being wrong, and we are then to judge it if it's wrong or right, then why do we need the middleman? I don't even understand.
Well, lots of people need leaders. I mean, there are so many people that cannot decide things for themselves. Like,
but there's natural leaders that emerge that people follow voluntarily. I mean,
there's always leaders in some way, shape, or form, and it might not be a leader in every single instance. Like I'm a leader with Nikki in certain instances, and she's a leader in other instances. Like it's entirely dependent on whatever situation you're in.
Yeah, there is also one interpretation of this that you can go down that's actually a description of what the governing authorities should be doing, and not necessarily just a blanket statement that that's what they always are doing. And then there's also, when it says governing authorities, that doesn't necessarily have to mean, the state. That could mean the church authorities. That could mean the family authorities. Yeah. That could mean a variety of different things that aren't, the institution that declares that it has a monopoly on violence. And just one final point, which is that a lot of, typical conservatives that use Romans 13 as a club to beat libertarians with tie themselves in a pretzel if they really try to do that, because if you ask them, well, did you support overthrowing Saddam Hussein? I mean, this type of person would usually say, well, yes, I did. And then you can say, well, wasn't Saddam Hussein instituted by God? And then they would be like, well, I don't want to answer that.
Exactly. And Hannah's crushing it in the comment section, by the way.
I was reading that. Yeah.
She's crushing it.
I'm no expert when it comes to the Bible, so I'm just kind of going through just like on the fly sort of devil's advocate motions with you guys.
No, and that should absolutely be your job. If
that's my job.
Well, whoever doesn't know about something or like their thoughts contradict anybody else on this show, they should friggin' speak up, because it's better to have hash it out than just sit there and tacitly agree or not say anything. So thank you. Yeah.
Sure. There's also, when you've never heard it before, it's written in such a way where I'm like, I probably processed 40% of what was said,
Yeah, but I mean, Romans 13 is the one that everyone goes to be like, you have to be obedient to the government. Lies. Yeah, I mean, incorrect.
It's one of those things where if you're a libertarian and a Christian, you absolutely know what Romans 13 is. But if you're a libertarian and not a Christian, you would not really have a reason to have encountered it before.
No, I picked up on sort of a hierarchical thing of like, follow your authorities, but if they veer from, what this book says, then follow that, for it's like a 1-2 thing or whatever. That's what I was just saying. Why do you need the middle thing then? But
yeah, it can be good for you or okay to put your thinking onto somebody else. Like if somebody else is in charge of a church, let's say, and they're good at what they do, they're living according to the Bible, and they're practicing what they preach, then it's okay to outsource some of your thinking to people. And it's some of the ways in which you should live. It's not always okay, and people do that far too often with the government, thinking they're an authority on anything when they're
Right.
not.
Right. So like, yeah, I mean, regardless, I mean, you get natural hierarchies like with lobsters.
Yeah. Okay, Jordan. Mr. Peterson joined
But
the chat.
Yeah.
you get natural elites, and I think that's one thing we accept is that happens. You have some people who are better leaders, and some people who generally will follow.
Yep. 100%.
Now you want impressive, good people to step up and lead, and people to follow voluntarily. But you know, there's nothing against libertarian values and saying that. You know, some people argue this whole like no hierarchy thing, but I think that's an untenable position living in, you know, some fantasy land.
Right.
Yeah, this is a point that Hans Herpen Hoppe often makes, which is that you want your elites in your society to actually be impressive, good people
Yes.
that are well known for how refined and intelligent that they are. Whereas democracy actually promotes the worst, least impressive, most base people in society to be your leaders.
Yes.
And that makes it not a very good system.
Yeah, just look at Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, Dave Smith mentions that a lot. I mean, I haven't listened to many podcasts recently, but he's like, our elites are just the least impressive people on the planet. Like, it's crazy that they're the elites. It makes no sense.
Joe Biden is the president.
Joe Biden is the president. Like, if you actually
Enough
just sit
said,
down
yeah.
and think about that for like 3 minutes, you'll wonder how like humans have survived this long.
Yeah. And not in 1988, but in 2020, well, now 4, but
Oh,
forgot what
man.
year it was there.
All right, y'all. Well, it's that time. It's trivia time, everybody. I did not
Woo.
pull up the scoreboard. Nick has not partaken in trivia in quite a while.
Yeah, hopefully I can pull a win, although it'll probably be Zane.
Alden dominated last week.
Yeah, but it was about movies.
Well, you don't know what today's about. I'm trying
What
to
is
make
the
it.
Highland cow?
Hey,
What?
that's a great start. That Zane doesn't know what a Highland cow is.
Rabbit Eye Wine.
Rabbit Eye Wine is. I told you they're the unofficial sponsor for the show.
I should have asked more questions.
Where's my
about
check in the mail?
Here, I'm going to cover up something. There we go. We cover up our little logo there.
Why?
Because it might be a question here in a minute.
Oh.
All right. Libations trivia. Everyone here knows the rules. Audience, you can participate. And y'all have won twice at this point. Twice in over a year. So, you know, you got a long shot. Scoreboard is Zane has won twice this year. Audience has won once. They tied with Zach, who also won once, and Alden won last week. But he doesn't even get paid, Zane. All right. Round 1. Hang on. I got to pull up everything on my end. All right. Question number 1. On this day in 1960, construction began on what famous landmark in Los Angeles, California? Alden.
The stars thing. I don't know, the Hollywood Walk of Star thing.
I'm going to give it to you.
There you go,
Walk
yeah.
of Fame.
The Walk of Shame,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Hollywood Walk of Fame. Let me give you a point. All right. Next question. On this day in 1936, Jay Berwanger became the first player picked in the very first draft of what league? Zane.
The NFL.
The NFL.
Nice. I couldn't get over just laughing at Berwanger, but
So he was a halfback. He had won the Heisman in college. He immediately was traded from the Eagles to the Bears, and he never played because he demanded too much for his salary. And he was a rubber salesman for the rest of his life.
oh man.
Quite a change.
Does he regret it, or is he like, nope, that was what I was going to do?
I'm sure he's dead now, so he probably doesn't regret much at this point. Hannah says, "Can't wait to get my star in the Hollywood Walk of Stars thing."
The official name, yeah.
Question number 3. On this day in 1924, a new use for gas was used for the first time in the U.S. What was the use, Zane?
Making rubber.
Incorrect. Nick?
The internal combustion engine.
Incorrect. Alden?
Gasoline?
I just said gas.
Is it heating homes?
Nope. Zane?
I think I may have just said the wrong material. Is it making plastic?
Incorrect. All
What
right.
year?
I'm gonna open it-
1924?
1924. I'm going to open it back up to the floor. The hint is it's not to make anything. In
Okay.
fact, it's to destroy something.
Oh.
Zane?
To make nitroglycerin.
Incorrect. Nick?
Make napalm.
No. Alden?
Oh man. I thought napalm sounded good, and then that wasn't it.
I've been forgetting.
19.
I forgot to use the buzzer.
Did you say we have a buzzer? Did you say
do now.
24?
I got a new
1924?
interface. 1924. I'll give you another hint in a minute. If Alden can't guess anything.
It's to destroy things? I don't know. Burning poppy fields.
It was used during the Holocaust.
Oh God.
Zane?
The Zyklon B.
What? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know.
I guess it's not.
No. What? Just define what it is. It might be correct.
Well, it's like the poison gas.
Yay, Zane!
See, my whole head was.
Lethal execution.
Really?
You said gas. My head was completely in gasoline.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. See, that's where I was. That's why I asked.
You
But
figured. Your mom from Buddy. Thank you.
I
Buddy.
was never going to get there because I thought we were talking about petrol gas. But
I don't know what to tell you. That's how the question was worded. So can't do much about that.
Thanks, Chat GPT.
ChatGPT did not come up with that. I did.
Well, then you have no one to fault.
All right. On this day in 1904, what war began? Zane?
The Russo-Japanese War.
Nice.
Russo-Japanese War is correct. All right.
I tried to think of some interesting commentary to say about it, but I couldn't come up with anything. So,
on this day in 1587, which famous queen was beheaded? I think it was Alden.
Is it Queen of Scots? Mary Queen of Scots?
Mary Queen of Scots is correct. Congratulations, Alden.
Mary Queen of something.
Mary Queen of something. All right. Question number 6. On this day in 1986, standing at 5'7", who won the NBA dunk contest? Zane?
oh yeah, I think it was actually shorter than that. But Muggsy Bogues.
No. Muggsy never did the dunk contest.
What year?
Good guess. 1986. It's like one of the most famous dunk contests of all time.
5'6", 7"?
Zach's incorrect.
I've never known Larry Bird to dunk, but
Okay, I'm going to give it to the audience because I think there we go. He got it correct. Spud Webb.
yeah, I wouldn't have known that.
No one's ever heard of Spud Webb? Good
No.
job, buddy. Good job, dude.
Yeah.
Hannah got it too. All right. Question number 7. On this day in 1915, widely considered the first cinematic masterpiece directed by D.W. Griffiths, what movie opened in Los Angeles? Zane?
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation is correct.
I've never seen it.
We had to watch it at SCAD. Very mediocre and absurdly racist.
I was gonna say, is that like the clan-ish movie or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know of it, but I've not seen it.
Yeah. I mean, it's I understand why it's a cinematic masterpiece because of when it was made, because it's like the first massive feature film.
Right.
and like some of the styles they used were very impressive for their time and very innovative. But yeah, I mean, watching movies that old is always a chore. All right. On this day in 1994, in a fit of road rage, what actor smashes the windshield of a stranger?
Oh,
Alden.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson is correct.
He was having Shining flashbacks.
They also based anger management off of that.
That's why I know this. Yeah, because like it's funny that he plays then the anger management like instructor, but he himself has like got a serious problem. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I love that Hannah guessed Britney Spears.
Actually, that's a funny image though.
That's so good. Question number 9. Did I give you a? No, I didn't. There we go. Question number. Oh, Zach had a good one too. It's Alec Baldwin, but whatever. Makes sense.
No, he shot a guy.
He shot a guy. Shot a girl.
Yeah.
It was a girl.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right.
On this day in 1974, what space station closed after only 171 days? Zane.
Skylab.
Skylab is correct. Bravo, Zane.
They're seeing if they could grow weed in space.
Final question of round 1.
It had blue windows.
What? Is that a real thing?
No, I was ripping off of the weed joke, but maybe that is a reference that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that one.
I don't know.
Ahead. I'm too dumb for that one. On this day in 1910, which organization was founded that caters to teaching young boys survival skills? Alden.
Boy Scouts.
It's the Boy Scouts of America.
Ding, 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 ding. Name anymore because they went woke.
They went.
Technically, it's now called the Scouts BSA, which really is really irritating because technically BSA no longer stands for anything. But what you're kind of saying is Scouts, Boy Scouts of America,
right?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lick of sense.
No, it's weird. All right. After one round, Zane has 5, Alden has 4, audience has 1, and Nick is bringing up the rear with a big fat goose egg.
I'm out of practice.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. I need you to punch your camera, Nick, is basically what it needs to happen. All right. This next section is dedicated to our unofficial sponsor of this episode, Rabbit Eye Wine. Maybe we can get them on as an actual sponsor, and they can pay us like $5 an episode to sponsor each one, and just send us each a bottle of wine every month.
Or we can do what we're getting paid already, which is like a third of a penny.
I prefer the sponsor. Thank you. All right. What is the name of the farm where Rabbit Eye Wine was born? Alden.
Rabbit Eye Farms. I had to try it. I don't know.
It's Bell something Farms.
It's Bell Farms.
Yeah.
Oh, Zach got it right after you did. All right. Nick on the board with 2 points. Here we go. Question number 2. From where does Rabbit Eye get its name? Zane.
The eye of a rabbit.
Incorrect. Nick.
The Rabbit Eye Blueberry.
Rabbit Eye Blueberries is.
I was going to joke and say blueberries, but that is the answer. Okay.
That is the actual answer. Nick coming in strong in round 2. All right. What 2 colors do Rabbit Eye Blueberries change to prior to ending up blue? Zane.
Purple and green.
All right. Zane gets one of the correct ones, which is green. Alden.
Magenta.
Nick, what's your guess?
I've seen the blueberries.
Red.
And this is
They're
tough.
magenta.
Yeah, it's a pinkish red, which is magenta.
It's magenta.
Yeah.
Pinkish red is not a color. Magenta is a color. I am more right than you.
It says red,
It
therefore
says it on the
I'm right.
website.
I'm more right than your source.
All right.
All I do all day is deal with colors and typefaces. So.
Oh yeah, that's actually very fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 4. How many varieties of blueberry wine does Rabbit Eye produce? Alden.
3.
Okay, Zane.
4.
Nick?
Yeah, I was pretty sure it was 4. But I'm going to go with 5 just in case it's 5.
You should have stuck with 4, Nick.
Oh, Zane's already got it. I didn't want to.
You can step all over Zane's answer.
No, you can't. That's
Yeah,
not
you
I
allowed.
was playing fairly on this. And Buddy says 5, therefore it's probably 5, and you're probably missing a special one.
No, the special one is the next question. Okay. Buddy can shut up. What other fruit has Rabbit Eye put into a wine that they produced? Zane.
Peach.
Incorrect. Alden.
Apple.
Incorrect. Nick.
Fruit. Blackberries.
Blackberries. Ding, 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 ding,
Nice.
ding. How about that? I don't know why I have to say ding, ding now that we actually have a dinger.
Dinger? Yeah.
You love redundancy.
All right. After 2 rounds, Zane has 8. Nick is in second with 6. Alden has 5, and the audience still has 1. And I love that Hannah went with boysenberry.
Okay.
I made a big comeback in that round so far.
You made a massive comeback. That was impressive. Let's see. Buddy says they're working on a sangria type called Thunder Bunny. Oh
I hope that's
God.
true because
I gotta
that's
get some
amazing.
Thunder Bunny. That is amazing. All right. First question of round 3. What is the traditional Scottish term for a group of Highland cows? Alden.
A massacre.
No. I would have liked that though. Zane.
An O'Flanagan.
Incorrect.
Is that Irish?
I think that's
I have no idea.
Nick.
A bunch of fuckers.
Incorrect. Hannah, a gaggle is incorrect. My hint is going to be something stupid. It's something
Perfect.
you can do with a piece of paper. Alden.
A fold.
So
It is.
I got that strictly on the clue. I have never heard of this. Just being honest.
Oh, Zach got it literally half a second after you.
Nice.
Good job, Zach. A bagpipe. Beef
That's what I do with paper. I bagpipe.
All right. Question number 2 of round number 3. How many years has the Highland cow existed in its present form? You don't need to be quick on this one, Zane. You get one guess, and everybody.
I
gets...
strategically did not raise my hand for that. Right
so
away.
Zane, you get to pick first. How many
600
years?
years.
600 years. Okay. Alden, pick. Since you made
Let's go 500.
Okay, Nick.
Are we playing Price is Right rules?
No.
Yeah, I don't.
Just closest?
Closest to it.
Okay, I'm going to go 112 and a half years.
The audience gets it. Hannah,
Oh, no.
1,500 years it's been around.
I just don't even know what it is still that we're talking about.
A
so.
Highland cow? Oh my
I
God.
don't know.
They're all big and shaggy.
Yes.
Actually, they're not that big.
How do they
just more
taste?
They're not that big. They're shaggy.
fairly
Though.
small.
What kind of
They're
cheese
shaggy.
can I make from it?
Great cheese.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Question number 3. Final question. It is literally anybody's game except the audience. The audience can come in second if they get this, but everybody else can win if they get it.
Wow.
All right. Question number 3. How many? Nope, that's not it. Aside from defense, for what purpose do Highland cows use their horns? Alden.
A mating dance show thing.
Incorrect.
Dang
Zane.
it.
That's what I was gonna say. Swimming.
Nick.
Digging in the dirt.
Dang it.
Digging for food. And y'all.
Nice.
how about that? Thanks
Did Nick
for
win?
playing. Nick
Right
freaking
on.
won. Oh, Nick, how about that, man?
Yeah,
Came
goose
back
egg
from
after
behind.
round 1 to a win. That's a big
Oof.
comeback.
I mean, that is impressive.
That is, yeah.
That's an impressive victory right there.
Somehow
Audience,
I know my
everybody did
rabbit eye
well.
wine.
It was Nick got 9, Zane and Alden tied for second with 8, and the audience got 4. Everyone
That's close.
extremely well. Bravo to everybody. Thank you for participating.
If only I had known anything about rabbit eye wine. A single thing.
Yeah, I don't think most people did though. No. All right, y'all.
Nick apparently does.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're
going to our
Blackberries
second
was a
topic of the night.
complete 100% guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I tried to pick the questions for Rabbit Eye Wine that like basically anyone could guess, but
Mhm.
that if you knew Rabbit Eye Wine, you'd probably know. All right, not Nick, Zach. Let's put this Nikki Haley crap up on screen. Just hit play on this. This whole thing is too funny. Give us some volume on that, Zachary.
I'm wondering, though, is it a missed opportunity? Not because of the primary and caucus, but Nevada's a crucial battleground state. Was this a missed opportunity?
We were told from people in Nevada several months ago that this.
Man, what is going on with that, Zach? Your internet being junky?
I blame Fox.
I'm wondering, though, is it a missed opportunity? Not because of the primary and caucus, but Nevada's a crucial battleground state. Was this a missed opportunity?
We were told from people in Nevada several months ago that this was a scam. We knew that the state asked for a primary. We knew that the GOP chair, who's under indictment, had worked with Trump to go seal that up. We knew that there was an effort on the, none of the candidates issue. So we didn't spend a day. We didn't spend $1. Our focus was on Iowa, New Hampshire, and I went South Carolina for Tuesday. It was never going to be on the map.
All right. For those who don't know, Nikki Haley lost on a ballot that Trump wasn't on, and she lost to none of the above. She lost to Noda by a hefty margin.
Nice.
Let's pull up I think I have an article that specifies
60 to 30 or something.
Yeah.
What I loved about her
Although it's like-
statement is that she said she didn't campaign in Nevada because she was too focused on campaigning in Iowa and New Hampshire, 2 places that she also lost.
by a lot.
Nice.
She
Why
was
is she
celebrating
still-
coming in second.
Yeah, 63% to 31%. 63% of people said none of the candidates.
That's awesome.
And like, just the fact that Trump wasn't on there is just so funny. It's so like, why is she still in this race? What is even the point of her being in this race at this point?
Oh, so
Zane and Nick, y'all talk about it. I'm going to get some more wine.
yeah, so Nevada is in a complete state of disarray as far as the GOP is concerned. They're a mess, and that's what part of this is. So Nevada decided we're going to do it by caucus this year instead of by primary. And I think with Nevada law, the primary still happened. For some reason, the primary still happened, but there are 0 delegates at stake on it. So it was literally a waste of time to even bother with it, which is why Trump wasn't on it, because he's like, well, I'm going to go to the caucus where that's going to actually have a decision on delegates. And those caucuses are happening right now, this evening. I'm not sure, but I think Trump might be the only candidate on the ballot on those. So like, yeah, it is kind of like this whole screwy thing, but
Wow.
That's what you get. And honestly, I hate the primaries. It's taxpayer funded elections for private organizations.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
One thing in the general where it's like this organization versus that organization versus, supposedly these independents or other parties can be on that. That's not always the case. Or there's some extreme restrictions on it. But these primaries, it's literally saying, hey, we're voting for this person who belongs to this private organization. And then, of course, like you get to the Democrats who just have super delegates. And, if the will of the delegates elected there is split, then you're basically just going with what the super delegates, who are basically party insiders there, who are going to fall in line with whatever the establishment says. vote, and they make the decisions. So,
What did Hannah just say?
She said Nikki Sarwalk. Sarwalk is, I don't know if you know who Nick Sarwalk is, Alden. He's
I've heard this name, and
he's a famous
disgraced former
libertarian
chair.
in the party, and he's a piece of work.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
I
but
think I've
he's-
heard you guys
He
mention
accused
it.
somebody of assaulting him at the last national convention, and they literally like brushed shoulder. It's all caught on camera. They brushed shoulders on accident.
It's like an
Flop-
NBA
He
flop.
flopped like a soccer player.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing, and he's a lawyer, and it's like, what are you even doing?
The funniest part was like, because people figured he was going to be sketchy. Someone had a camera focused right in on him about 20 feet away when the incident happened. They
Yeah.
caught it squarely on film. And the
He didn't know
cops
he was
showed
going to
up.
be on instant replay.
Yeah, the cops showed up because he threw a fit, and the guy with the camera went out. He's like, "Hey guys, here's what happened." And the cops looked at it. It's like, "You're going to waste our time with this."
Yeah.
It was so good. Oh my gosh, is he even still around anymore?
Yeah,
No, he died.
Oh, okay.
No.
Well, that's interesting.
threatening to sue the party.
He is too.
He's the one leading the push to sue the party.
Is this
Over what?
Is he the one that I keep getting stuff in the mail from?
That directly, probably not, but he's trying to file a derivative lawsuit, which means because he's a party member, if he thinks that the board of directors isn't acting within their fiduciary duty and blah 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 and acting negligently, that he can sue to have them removed. And it's a completely absolutely insane.
Grumpy says he blocked him because he asked him why he assaulted that guy.
That's pretty funny.
I mean, the best thing that ever came from Sarwark is that tree video.
Yeah, we're going really inside baseball at this point. No one
Oh,
know what that is.
I don't know that one.
All right. Anyway,
We'll show
I
you
missed
later.
most of the Nikki Haley talk. What were we saying?
Well, I was just kind of explaining that the Nevada GOP is just all kinds of screwy right now, with the fact that this primary exists, but the primary is completely useless, which is why Trump's not even on it. And they're doing the caucuses tonight, which are do have delegate ramifications, and I believe Haley's not. I know for sure Haley's not even on the caucus ballot. I think Trump may be the only candidate on that.
So you've got he's not on one, and people voted for nobody, and then he's the only one on another. They're a
Yeah.
mess, man.
It's like,
It's a
think
complete
about
mess.
how much people must have to hate you for them to show up to a completely meaningless
Yeah.
election
Yeah.
just to vote for nobody. I'm in a group chat. I'm in a group chat with some of my friends from Young Americans for Liberty at the University of Georgia, and they were saying that this was a real Odyssey moment, where if you remember this, one of the stories from the Odyssey is that Odysseus is trapped in a cave of a cyclops.
Oh,
and
the
there
no
are
one
other
thing.
cyclops on
Nobody.
the island, but he says to the cyclops that his name is Nobody,
Yeah.
and then he attacks the cyclops and then sneaks out, and then
he's-
when the other cyclops come to help,
Yeah.
the cyclops says, "Nobody has attacked me.
Yeah.
Nobody
Who
has
attacked you?
blinded
Nobody.
me."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Oh, Zane, you're in a chat with a bunch of super nerds, aren't you?
Yeah.
I'm in a chat with some super nerds, and none of them have ever referenced the Odyssey. So
Yeah.
yours is
that's digging into
next
it.
level.
Nikki Haley's Odyssey moment. Nobody has gotten more votes than me.
Steve's apparently hopping on.
I love it, Steve. Come on, buddy. I mean, it's just like, why did she stay in it after Iowa? It makes no sense. She got destroyed in Iowa. She's getting destroyed she got destroyed in her home.
Yeah,
state.
but
she got
we're
destroyed.
all talking about it. You know what I mean? I think that's why.
Because the establishment needs
embarrassment.
their alternate in case they can get Trump off the ballot.
And that's literally
No
what
bad
she's praying
publicity,
for.
man.
She's praying that Trump gets indicted and sent to jail.
And yeah, that's basically her whole role, because I believe it was on part of the problem that or somewhere Vivek, I think it was on Part of the Problem, that Vivek, before he dropped out, was saying that that he thought the plan was just to install Nikki Haley, and then you don't have to, because she's establishment enough and talks the woke. Like if you hear her, she talks a whole lot of the woke also. That
Yes, she does.
that she would be acceptable to the entire establishment, and they could just slide her in and slide Biden out without any major things. And the fact that she can't pull any numbers, which I thought when he said that, I'm like, yeah, that seems like a very, very plausible explanation of what's going on here. So
Big time.
she gets nothing by dropping out, and a very slim
but by staying
possibility.
in, she just gets embarrassed in front of the entire nation repeatedly.
Yeah, but like these are politicians, so they have no shame.
Hey, fellas.
Steven.
Hilton. Welcome to the show, brother. What you drinking?
Reppin' Chase.
Social Fox, West Coast IPA, straight out of Norcross, baby.
All right. Well, tonight's the Rabbit Eye Wine episode, so I guess you didn't get the memo.
I did not.
Yeah, it's Rabbit Eye Wine. There we go.
Yeah,
I thought
didn't
about
either.
Rabbit Eye blueberries while I was cracking this beer up.
The only reason you're allowed to drink that is because it's not an official sponsorship, because I didn't receive any payment.
I didn't even receive any wine.
I'm literally going to bring this bottle on every week until they actually start sponsoring the show. I guess that's
No, if you do that,
yeah.
Yeah. If
do
you
it
do
just
that, then
one
they
time.
don't need to.
One time
Yeah,
they'll have a massive sales spike, and then they'll
Right.
want to sponsor.
We're never gonna say the name of that wine again.
There we go. Okay.
We're-
Yeah, let's get all the Rabbit Eye wines out this episode and never mention it again. And
It'll be like that sports game coming Sunday. You just can't say it.
just-
Otherwise, you owe them money.
Hannah is asking
big
what
game.
Rabbit Eye Wine actually is.
why does everyone? Because Hannah, Rabbit Eye Wine is made by a guy's family who's part of the Libertarian Party of Georgia, named Will Bell, who is
Made with
apparently
the
having a
freest-
child this week.
Yeah.
Maybe right now, maybe even listening to this podcast.
He
Wow,
might be joining us while the child's being delivered.
it would just be the best introduction to this world for that child. So yeah, Will Bell makes Rabbit Eye Wine. He and his family, and they sponsor all the LP conventions each year, and
They just bring cases of
the
it. And people
wine
get
and
hammered on it.
Oh, yeah.
they're just scattered throughout the whole convention center by the end of the weekend. It's great.
What does it taste like?
Blueberries.
Blueberry wine.
Tastes like
Blueberries.
like exactly
Yeah.
like wine that's made
Yeah.
with blueberries.
How dry?
Because that's why it's called Rabbit Eye wine, because it's the type of blueberries they use too. It's the Rabbit Eye.
Well, you
blueberry.
would have killed a
Not
trivia.
Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
kill trivia. if he was
That's what
here.
I was going to say. It's like you should have been on trivia, mate.
Yeah, we had all section on Rabbit Eye Wine, Steven.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know
Alden,
that
not
until
super dry.
10 minutes ago.
It's a sweeter wine for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, this one's good. It's the Tiff Blue Sweet. They got, I know we went over this, but they got three others, and then
Is there three other? Because I guessed three and I was wrong. So I'm.
Yeah, there's four ones that are made with straight blueberry, and then one that's made with blueberry and blackberry.
Yeah. Yep. I was one off on my wild guess.
Yeah,
Lex
it
says
is
there are some
dry.
drier varieties, but I've only ever had this variety, so I need to go buy some more.
Varietals.
So we're talking about Nikki Haley. Is that what I was missing?
Yeah, Steven, what are your
Sure.
thoughts on Nikki Haley getting murdered by no one?
Yeah. So first off, kudos to the Republicans for finally putting none of the above on the ballot. Welcome to the 21st century.
That's fair.
That's something we've been doing since I think forever.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
pretty
day
sure-
one of the LP, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so at least 50 years now. And also, it's pretty weird how she's using this narrative now, because you know how Trump was doing that thing that, oh, it's rigged, this is rigged. And so now she's trying to use a piece of the Trump playbook and say that any state not using a primary format and going to a caucus is rigged for Trump.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we would agree with her. I think we would also agree with anybody who says that all elections are rigged.
Yeah.
Sure.
There goes the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Dude, so I don't know if any of y'all saw Free Georgia podcast this week, but I laid out what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the year, and there's not a chance in hell our YouTube channel lasts through the end of March.
Are we going to have the 9/11 debate on the YouTube channel? Because that'll do it.
That would definitely do it. But no, I'm talking a lot about medical stuff.
That'll do it. Maybe even if there's anything that can do it just as fast, if not faster, it'll be that.
Yeah. I'm focusing on 3 topics: Bitcoin, education, homeschooling, and like medical freedom and taking care of yourself.
There we go. Medical
going
freedom.
outside the
Hey,
system.
Alexa, who paid the largest criminal fine in U.S. history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Anybody
that
who's
not
listening-
Pfizer?
Anybody who's
It is.
listening or
Johnson.
watching right now, I would highly encourage you to go over to our Rumble channel. We have Libertarian Party of Georgia over there. We also have the free Georgia podcast, Liberty Libations. These are all separate channels. You can go follow any of our stuff over there because YouTube is not long for this world. There's just no way we're not going to get banned. I mean, I'm even going to stop airing this on the Peaceful Sea Productions YouTube in the near future.
Yeah, so that you preserve your
But I
company's
can still put
platform
movies
or
out
whatever.
without
Yeah.
doing, without screwing myself. So
Yeah, that's probably
Gotta make sure that the fans get their weekly dose of the Wrexham Texan.
yes, you have to. That's my most popular show, Zane,
How is that possible?
because Wrexham fans are diehard fans. They
They're
love
psychopaths.
Americans talking about Welsh soccer. Actually, a lot of them just hate
Which
listening
Jake has
to me.
only started paying attention to in the past 18 months, but
2 years. Give me some credit. 2 years.
There we go.
Come on.
So when Ted Lasso started, right?
When Ted Lasso
There you go.
started, that's probably about right. Yeah, you're probably right.
That's actually I can't even argue that. Yeah.
I've been watching English football for a very long time, but the Welsh teams I didn't know anything about until more
well,
recently.
to be fair, I don't even know if most people could point to Wales on a map.
Yeah, well, that's very sad.
They're
apparently,
in the ocean.
apparently Zach knows somebody on Wrexham, Rob Layton. That's very true. He's a benched goalkeeper because he keeps getting hurt.
I just remember someone with the same name as the Titans tight end, like Ogun Konkwo or whatever.
Oh yeah, Arthur Okonkwo. He's
Okonkwo,
He's
yeah.
our current goalie. Yeah, he's like 6'7" and has a wingspan of like 7'3". It's
Why
Good
is he not, in,
grief.
why is he not playing basketball or something?
My wingspan is more than my height, but not by
Mine is-
that.
mine
much
is
yet.
too. Mine's 4 inches longer than my height.
I'm gonna have to get my tape measure out and see. Right now, hold on. No, okay.
I regret bringing this up.
Yeah, what are we talking about at this point?
Okay, does anybody else have anything to say about Nikki Haley and Barrett?
So
She
you guys
just
might have
stopped.
brought this up already, but it also coincides with oh gosh, I forget her last name now. Rana, the RNC chairwoman.
Daniel?
McDaniel.
McDaniel.
Yes, so she resigns in the wake
Has
of the
she
South
resigned
Carolina primary.
officially?
She announced she's going to step down in the wake of the South Carolina primary, and she called the Republican Party a party of losers. When
Sounds
she
like
stepped
Toad.
down.
Sounds like
She's
Toad
quoting
calling
Toad,
the
yeah.
Libertarian Party a party of losers.
The
There you
LP, yeah. The loser party.
The loser party, because all we do is lose.
Well, and then something else I saw was I think there was like a 16% total voter turnout for the Nevada primary. So in 2022, which was an off year, not a whole lot going on. So you've got like maybe governor. I don't know what they were really voting for in the primary a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But it's the off year stuff. So it's like coroner, sheriff, stuff that doesn't really matter to a lot of people. They had a 25% turnout 2 years ago.
So even fewer people believe in government now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're doing
gotta
our,
get
we're
that
doing our
percent
job
even.
correctly, y'all. This is great.
Yeah.
But is this because they also have the caucus thing too, and it's like less people are showing up because it's
so
kind
the
of
caucus
weird?
thing just started.
Sorry.
Yeah.
The less and the fewer drives me nuts. Fewer people, Alden. Fewer people.
Oh, whatever.
Fewer people.
When you learn what magenta is, I'll start saying fewer.
Dude, I know what magenta is. They describe it on their website as pinkish red. Okay.
It's so easy to razz, Jake.
Goodness gracious.
We're gonna have to get Will on here from the delivery room and fix this little
Yeah.
issue.
Alden's the one who doesn't know what a freaking Highland cow looks like, which I'm about to show you.
Is it
It's
the
all muscular.
woolly
No.
looking?
No,
They're all floofy.
it's these guys.
Yeah. Okay.
Look at that beautiful, majestic. We're gonna get some mini Highland cows from Montana. I'm very
There we go.
excited about it.
The
I've
emo
seen
cow.
them. I just thought they were called long hair steak.
That's great. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to give Nikki Haley too much airtime, but I just find it so funny. Just so funny that they put Noda on the ballot and she lost 2-1.
It's great. It really is 2-1. That's right. Yeah.
Like Democrats didn't even want to cross over and vote for her. Like the age-old tactic of like, let me support the person on the other side that I think is going to be most likely to lose.
I get told
Yeah, but
a lot of states.
I don't know
you
that
can't.
happens.
I
can
do
that.
You do it?
Like in Georgia primaries, absolutly.
So Georgia,
If there's an open primary.
Democrat out there.
If
Yeah,
it's an
I knew
open primary
Georgia
state,
was
you
open
can do
primary.
it. But closed primary states, you wouldn't be able to unless you change your registration.
Right.
Yeah.
Like in
but Georgia's one of
Pennsylvania
those.
here.
You just tell them at the door. They're like, what do you want?
Like Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, you have to be registered with a party. So, like, I'm registered Libertarian here. So I can't go on primary day and vote in the Republican unless I go online and I change my registration.
There you go.
Can you just change it one day and then change it back the next?
Yeah,
I don't know how long it takes.
They want you to do it 6 months in advance. So they make it to where you can't, like in an election year, if you swap for the primary, you can't swap back in time for the general.
Yeah, there's a
but like
in
for the
Pennsylvania,
general,
there is a time
you can just
frame.
vote for whoever you want.
For the general, you can vote for whoever you want. So who cares?
Yeah,
right.
but it would be, you still wouldn't get like your party ticket, for things that are unopposed.
Gotcha.
I couldn't tell you what the PA thing is, but they might shut down switching like a month before the primaries.
Interesting.
So you can't switch in there. So like we also require LPPA requires you to be registered Libertarian to vote at conventions. So
you said PP.
Yeah. Yes, I did.
Oh goodness.
Oh yeah, when did we start getting these really aggressive chyrons at the bottom?
When I decided that too few people were watching this show and sharing it with their friends. So I'm going to keep calling people, you in the audience, dum-dums until you start sharing this show more and get us more viewers.
Look, people sold
support
books calling their audience dummies.
So you get us greater viewers.
Goodness gracious. Yeah, no, I have about 10 of them, Zane, that I can put up there. They're just fun. And I'm going to keep coming up with stupid ones that annoy people. So, all right, what's the next? What do we got next? Zachary. And oh my gosh, where did my uh-oh.
Hey, here we go. 2
of my overlays disappeared. All right. Anyway. All right. This is from Stephen Hilton. He sent this into our chat today. Stephen, you want to give us a brief description on what we're looking at here?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, this was something that was fresh on my mind, and I've hinted at this before, but first and foremost, look at the date on this article. For it to be fresh on my mind, I remembered immediately I needed my ibuprofen for the day. So, anyways, this kind of breaks down. You hear the CPI numbers as one of the main trackers of inflation. You hear all the talking heads on TV talk about, inflation is 8% or it's 9%. But then common sense will tell you every time I go to the grocery store, stuff is 20 to 30% more expensive. Mm-hmm. But these guys on TV are only saying it's 8%. What's going on? What's the difference? And, I've said before that it really started, I think it was with the Bill Clinton administration, that they changed the way some of the stuff is tabulated. So with CPI, they have, a substitution method. So for instance, say the CPI, so they look at like baskets of commodities for CPI. So for one of the things for goods for like food services or something like that, they'll look at steak. So they'll have steak in the basket, and then fillets have gone up 40% in the last 3 or 4 months. But what they'll do is they'll substitute it out, because they'll actually look and say, well, filet mignon is up 40%, but ground beef, hamburger meat is down 12%. So they'll swap it out, and then they'll say, see, look, groceries are actually getting cheaper, guys. And then they'll just classify it as beef. Beef is cheaper now. And then you go to the store, and I guess some people don't really think that, like, hey, I didn't used to pay this. This costs way more than I'm used to paying.
How do people not recognize that? I don't understand.
And then they just believe the numbers. And then there's something else called
people with a lot of money, man. I don't know.
What was it, like hedonic bias? So like, hey, my washing machine, I had to replace my washing machine in my laundry room last year. The same kind, the same level of model, just like middle of the road kind of thing, 10 years ago was $1,000. Now it's $1,300.
Because it was a fucking dial and it just had a drum that spun around on a belt, and now it'll sing you a fucking lullaby.
There you go. Yeah, see, and that's it. And I'm supposed to ignore the extra $300, the extra 30% increase over the last several years, just because it has extra buttons and sings me a lullaby. And it'll send me a text message. When my dryer's done.
The smart washer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your smart washer.
So the hedonic adjustment is what that's called too. So that's another way they kind of hide actual inflation numbers from you. So
or
when
they
say
the product.
Inflation, if they're looking at CPI and that kind of thing, if they say inflation is 8%, it's really 18 at least.
At least. No, it's wild what they do to manipulate the numbers, and just redefining how they calculate inflation is just so underhanded, and no one understands it because people's eyes just glaze over. They don't really get it. It's
that's because they're running off of this price inflation definition rather than actual inflation of the monetary supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Absolutely.
not. They don't even have the correct definition of what inflation is, which is the biggest problem of all. Like, they're not actually telling you what inflation is. They think that a president can just control what inflation does. Well, no. Once the money's printed, you're screwed. The government's not just going to go burn a bunch of money. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, Bill Clinton got away with it because he added 3 digits to the phone numbers first. So everyone was so confused. I knew everyone's phone number before Bill Clinton. After Bill Clinton, are you 770 or 678? I don't know anymore.
Y'all are going to have to basically disregard anything I say from here on out. This blueberry wine has gotten to me.
What's the...
Well, you actually had a really important point there, Jake, about how we need to be consistent about inflation is an increase in the money supply. A lot of people think that inflation is an increase in prices. Well, prices can increase for a million different reasons. Like during the 70s, during the oil
shortage.
crisis. I mean, there was a lot of, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of money printing, but the main reason that oil prices went up was that there wasn't as much oil to go around. That's not inflation. That's there being a supply problem. And then when there's less supply, prices go up. So it's people who have no idea. It's people that have been propagandized into not understanding what inflation is, which is the Federal Reserve creating new money. And so that allows them to monkey around with how they calculate it for a million different ways. So the CPI is defined based off of a basket of consumer goods, as if you can come up with a basket of goods that represents what you think most people are going to buy, when everybody buys tons of different stuff. And then they just conveniently decide, well, we're not going to put this in the basket because that's not favorable to what we want the number to be.
It's cherry picking.
Put this in the basket because that is, this thing has gone down. I think I saw in the article how they smooth out increases in price of items in the basket that have gone up, but don't smooth the price of items in the basket that have
fall.
Yeah. So you're biasing the average to be lower than it should be. And then you were saying about hedonic adjustments, washing machines being better today than they are 40 years ago, which, is a true fact.
Define better, yeah.
Like refrigerators were better back in the day.
Okay, I mean, this is a conversation for another time, but I would go out on a limb and say most consumer goods today are better than they were 40 years ago.
But
how much better? Are they 5% better? Are they 10% better?
And first we need to define better.
This is something that people can only define in their own mind. Maybe you're Alden and you think that they've actually gotten worse, and maybe you're me and you think that they've gotten better. But that's for each.
Well, we
person
need to define
That's
better.
for each person individual. Well,
Yeah,
you
we do need
cannot
to
define
define
better. You cannot
Well-
define better. The concept of better is something that only exists in each individual's mind.
No,
And
you
the
can
fact
define
that
it for the
fact that
purposes.
the bureaucrats think that, oh, we can just say the hedonic adjustment for washing machines is 10%, as if everybody agrees that washing machines have gotten 10% better. Even like that's a completely incoherent concept. Like, it doesn't even make sense to talk that way, and it doesn't even make sense to talk about a single price level. Like, the entire concept of the CPI is that you can define a coherent concept of the price level, but if you even think about how that would be defined, it doesn't make sense. Because let's imagine that you have an economy where one of the goods is a sheet cake, and you can buy a big sheet cake for $50. But then if you divide the sheet cake into 50 slices that all cost $1, well, if you don't divide it, then you have one good that costs $50 and that goes into the average. But if you do slice it, then you have 50 goods that each cost $1 that go into the average. There is no way of consistently defining what is a good that should be put into the collection of goods to define the price level.
Oh my gosh, I want that.
Yeah,
shit
see,
cake so bad
Zach,
right now.
the reason things that break are good, planned obsolescence means you have to buy more stuff, therefore GDP goes up because you have to spend more money.
There we go.
because
Or
the
Keynesianism.
the more you consume, the better an economy is. We all
Yeah,
know that
Keynesian.
based on Keynesian economics. Like, that's a fact of
There
the
you go.
economic
Well, and
world.
that's the one thing that puzzled me with the first encyclical that Pope Francis put out, because he's a Jesuit communist. And, he comes out and he puts out his encyclical talking about the throwaway culture is destroying the planet. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Okay, cool. So
So you actually did something cool?
yeah. You had to get past all the greeny stuff. We got to depopulate. There's too many people on the earth. We got to live more responsibly if we're going to have this many people. All that kind of stuff. But
Stephen, I have a question for you.
yeah,
How do you consume all this information, one, and how do you retain all of this information? Because you are just a wealth of random crap that I've never heard of before that happened very recently.
I don't know how I retain it, but how I got into that was I had a friend that was actually going through his Catholic confirmation, and we started talking about is the Pope a communist?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, well, a Jesuit shouldn't be a Pope and that kind of thing. And he brought that back to his little confirmation class, and that caused some waves. And
Of course it did.
Hello, fellow Catholics. Is the Pope literally the Antichrist?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, hard to tell. But there was some things. If you can suffer through his encyclical, it's a couple hundred pages. He hit some good points in there. Talking about the throwaway culture, that if we were really truly about human development and innovation, then we would build things to last.
Yep.
That is true.
Completely agree, because we did not do that anymore. Like, it's crazy how many things last from like the 1970s but die. Like, things that are made in like the early 2000s are already dead. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Things
weird.
that I've bought a month ago are already dead.
I literally bought a piece of equipment yesterday or 2 days ago. It showed up yesterday
Yeah.
and it broke within an hour.
Yeah.
I'm in my old childhood home. I have 2 incandescent bulbs left in here. I remember putting them in when I was 9 years old, and they have outlasted. So I moved in here 3 years ago after my mom passed, and LED bulbs. The expensive GE ones that are like $9 a bulb. They've blown out. Those 2 incandescents are still going.
China.
It's China.
China.
Yeah, I
That's
was gonna
good.
say,
Good spelling.
but it really is though cheap Chinese goods. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what
That's
it
part
comes
of
out.
it.
Now you can argue that it's great that a lot of these
Well,
things. But
go down to Big Lots and get you
it's
some American-made furniture and tell me how good it holds up.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, get some Swedish-made furniture too, and see how that holds.
Oh,
up.
IKEA. Do you know about that longest running incandescent bulb that's in some fire station somewhere that's been on
Yes.
since?
Yeah.
Yes.
Since
Yep.
The
what,
dawn
like
of time.
1901 or something like that.
Something
Yeah,
like that.
it's
It's like a
totally long.
century old or more. Yeah.
Dude, like come on, give me that light bulb for goodness sake. I just want some of those right on my
Part
desk.
of why it's still running is that it's been running constant. It doesn't turn off and on because then it stresses the filament out more, and it's been running on like, dimmed low or whatever. But still, over a century of running,
I was
it's
gonna
something
say,
like
it's been on for a century, but it was the on-off switch that really made it last.
yeah.
I mean, fine. Like if it lasts 20 years, people would be happy still. Like,
So Zach just said, he said in this comment, I'd fight the Pope without hesitation. And he said that he put that in the YouTube chat.
That's like a
and
Fight
they
Club
wouldn't
line
let
almost.
him post it.
Really?
So he had to go over to Rumble to post it.
I'd fight him with consent, Yeah.
I'd fight the Pope. That dude, have you seen him in his white garish robe? Oh my gosh. Dude, looks like Snoop Dogg.
Pope Francis
Oh,
versus John
that
Paul.
picture of him with the white coat is a fake. I'm sorry to say.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's fake.
What about the video of him adjusting his mask? Is that a fake?
It looks.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It looks.
You wouldn't know.
So real. Come on. It looks so real. Is that really? Is that really fake?
that's definitely fake.
It says AI generated image of the Pope in a white puffy jacket.
Well, see, and what makes it so believable was John Paul II walking around with a backwards baseball cap. You know what I mean? Like he was the people's Pope. He was the cool one.
Every time I pictured the Pope for the last 6 months, I pictured this. Whoops.
Fake news.
Fake news. I've been duped. Yeah,
Fake
I mean,
fell for fake news.
AI is just going to F everything up. We're never going to know what's true in about 10 years. Like,
Which
unless
is the
we're
goal.
really face to face. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. Okay, let's go to the next topic because I'm tired of talking about inflation. I think Zane pretty much nailed it on the head anyway. Hit the nail on the head. All right. Is it Tucker Carlson? Is that what's next? No, sorry. I did not mean to save this one. Zach, go to the next one, please. Go to the next. I did not mean to save that post. There we go. That's what I want. Let's turn that volume up all the way.
So historically, at least modern history, they're spoilers. But with the current level of dissatisfaction with Trump and Biden, is there any chance you see this year could be different?
No, I think that third-party candidates are spoilers. I mean, history could potentially repeat itself again. And now, more than ever, the idea of a third party is a threat to our democracy. This is not the time for this. I understand the frustration that the American electorate has. People always express a certain amount of frustration with the two-party system. But that's the system we have. And we are not in a position now where we have two candidates who equally are
okay. So Zane, can you tell me when is the proper time to have a third party in an election? Like when is that actually like
not allowed
to have? Yeah.
Well, the fact that she's so confidently calling the concept of third parties a threat to democracy would be news to a lot of other democracies that have more than two parties.
Many parties.
Like every country that has a parliamentary system, so like the UK, Canada, India, Australia, New Zealand, they all have more than two parties. And it's like not that I want the United States to be more like those countries, but it's like if your worldview is that, is thinking that representative democracy is, the gold standard of the way to structure states, how could you be so ignorant as to think that that a third party is completely inconceivable, even within your own framework of thinking about it?
Look. Here's how it goes, Zane, right? If there's one party, you're a fascist. If there's two parties, it's democracy. If it's three parties, that's a threat to democracy. And honestly, I thought it was hilarious and I quite enjoyed it. And yeah, I do want to be a threat to democracy.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of being a threat to democracy. I think more people should embrace being a threat to democracy.
There we go.
I need to get a hat that just says threat to democracy.
Oh my gosh. Okay, yes. No, we're getting that for Libations. I'm creating some merch right now.
Put it in the merch store.
Yeah, no, we're definitely doing that.
Okay, I mean the real reason she's saying that is because, you know,
Republicans are
people
losers. We
vote
went
for
through
the
this earlier tonight.
If people vote for anybody that's not the Democrat, then Trump might have a slightly higher chance of winning. And the root of this is that anybody besides the Democrat winning is a threat to democracy in her mind.
But she was GOP.
All these people say that Trump is a threat to democracy. So it's like, so voting for a third party is a threat to democracy. Voting for Trump is a threat to democracy. So it's only not a threat to democracy if you vote for the people that the power elite want you to vote for. So
yeah,
it's really
Zane, you're using some old, outdated definition of democracy here. Democracy means doing whatever the left tells you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's they don't want to come out and admit it, but she pretty much just did. Like that is
except she was GOP. She wasn't even a Democrat.
Of how transparent it is. She's saying the quiet part out loud right there.
No,
it's not. She's GOP.
I don't think it's that she's saying the quiet part out loud. I think it's that she doesn't understand anything that she's saying. Like, I don't think they understand at all the concept that democracy in their brain means doing what we consider to be the right thing.
Well, exactly. It's only a threat to democracy if it challenges your party taking control. Because, you know, when the Republicans feel like they should be kicking ass and they're not, they only say that about third parties. Same thing with the Democrats. You know, when they should be kicking ass and they're not, all of a sudden, well, if it wasn't for that third party, we would have done it.
Well, we covered tonight that Republicans are the party of losers, right? So, like, of course they'd be all pissy.
You misspoke. It was Libertarians.
But didn't we cover that Ronna McDaniel also said that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
I've got to go back to when Jake did a classy move, which is to pour from a decanter, but then licked the decanter, which negated the class.
I'm the only one here. I'm allowed to lick from the decanter.
No. When my girlfriend's gone and I'm making myself a drink, I stir with my finger. Like I get it, but
I stir with my finger when Nikki's here.
Here's your drink. Yeah.
Make a sandwich and leave that knife laid on the side of the counter, right beside the sink. Not in.
Yeah, the peanut butter to stir your whiskey. It's actually not bad.
This again later. I'm gonna lay it right here.
Yeah, that isn't bad, Alden. Little peanut butter.
It's not bad.
Oof.
Yeah, not bad.
I saw
peanut butter and jelly.
Peanut butter powder in when they brewed an espresso, like in there with their espresso grounds.
Little nutty,
like a Reese's Pieces.
Oh,
I'm into that.
Gotta try that.
Oh,
yeah.
But is that a threat to democracy?
I think anything that isn't. Yeah, no, I think it is.
Yes, Bernie Sanders would say that's too many choices.
You're going to confuse the people.
You can only have one ration. It's either coffee or peanut butter.
That's right. Good, strong democracy has very few choices. Just trust the curators at that point.
You can have government cheese in your coffee.
We were saying earlier in the episode. Stephen, you missed a whole topic on. We had a whole conversation about Christianity and what it says in Romans 13.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Is everyone here but me Christian?
Well, hey, let me just chime in on that. So if you're going to focus in on Romans 13:1 and ignore the entirety of chapter 12, get out of my face.
Chapter 12 is so good. I literally just read chapter 12 today. Chapter 12 is amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's not get back into that because Alden will just be bashing his head against a wall for the.
No, it's okay. I'll just go get another drink. But
all right, what do we got next, Zach? Oh wait, no.
Actually, I'm gonna get another thing.
What's this bunch of clown things on here? What do we got? Sorry, I think I just took over your job for you for a second. Oh yeah. Grumpy Gnome tweeted out earlier today. 2024 is not the time for third parties. If you don't like Biden or Trump, don't vote. A line of sad clowns. It's so good.
Is that the unemployment office?
Can we say that this article is voter suppression? Because I guarantee you, if it came out that a conservative was behind this, all the leftists would say that it was voter suppression. But I can also say confidently that this is probably a Democrat that wrote this, because most people that I think that the Democrats think that people that are disaffected by both parties are more likely to vote for Trump than Biden, because at least in the popular consciousness, Trump is still, even we can all say how completely ineffective he was at draining the swamp, but at least the popular image of him is still that he's kind of an outsider to the system. So by encouraging people that are dissatisfied with both parties not to vote, I think that what they're at least trying to do is suppress people who might vote for Trump. But this goes back to the original clip, which is when she conceded that she understands why people are frustrated with the two-party system. But of course, she doesn't want anybody to actually act on that. She just wants people to do what they've always done, which is continue to vote for the same failing parties as before. And, they'll promise reform that never comes. And it's like, as long as they can keep everybody doing that, then they never have to change because they never have any real pressure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think we're in agreement that journalists are definitely the enemy class.
Well, let's just
Right.
let's just dive right into that one.
There's real
Great.
journalists.
That was a great segue. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next topic, Zach. I think only traitors do real journalism is our next topic.
So I'm also going to bring this guy up so we can laugh at the way he looks. Just for a second.
What? Who is this guy?
That's the dude that wrote the article.
No way.
Oh, he's a
Of course,
retired
he's an icon
attorney.
guy, loser. Get a better camera.
Golly.
And don't work for Yahoo News.
Former Fresno resident, retired attorney. Okay.
All right. So here's the world famous and super respected Hillary Clinton talking about a traitorous journalist.
I mean, he's like a puppy dog. He somehow is, after having been fired from so many outlets in the United States, I would not be surprised if he emerges with a contract with an outlet, because he is a useful idiot. He says things that are not true. He parrots Vladimir Putin's pack of lies about Ukraine. So I don't see why Putin wouldn't give him an interview, because through him, he can, continue to lie about what his, objectives are in Ukraine and what he expects to see happen. It's really quite sad that not just somebody like Tucker Carlson, who has, as I said, been fired so many times because he seems unable to.
How many times were you fired, lady?
Correlate his
How many times
reporting
did you
with
not
the
want to
truth.
vote?
Yeah, I was going to say, how many times were you not even
Also
hired?
Because it's a sign that there are people in this country right now who are like a fifth column for Vladimir Putin. And why? I don't know. I mean, why are certain Republicans throwing their lot in? Why are, other Americans basically believing Putin? Why did Trump believe Putin more than our 11
Why does she have a purse buckle
I
on
don't know.
her
Do you have a
shirt?
working theory? Do you have a working theory?
Why does anyone care what she says anymore?
Okay, so yeah, great,
There you go.
great point. Great point.
That's one of my old bumper stickers right there. Defeat Osama, Obama, and Chelsea's mama.
That's so good. That's great. I mean, first of all, shout out to Tucker Carlson. The interview came out 3 hours ago. Before we couldn't watch this yet, so it's 2 hours long. He sat down with Vladimir Putin for 2 hours. It's a 2-hour interview. I'd highly recommend going to check it out. I'm going to tomorrow.
Definitely watch that.
On X. So go over to his. It's just at Tucker Carlson.
Hope he didn't go eat sushi afterward. Get a little polonium in there,
But yeah, I mean, Nick said it perfectly. Like, journalism is the enemy of the mainstream people, of the corporate press, of actual free thinking individuals, of freedom in general. I
think we are highlighting some good differences. Like we covered the Muckraker story earlier tonight, and that's some good journalism, embedding yourself with that, and actually just like, hey, this is what I see. We see O'Keefe still doing some good work. I was watching him doing some investigation on hotels and stuff, holding, with the illegal immigrants on this side of the border. And then, Tucker Carlson seems to be doing it right. He seems to be coming up with the right interviews. I haven't watched this one. I'm hoping he's going to ask the hard questions, because there are hard questions to ask Vladimir Putin.
Yep.
As much as we disagree. I mean, Vladimir Putin is not a good guy. Like no one here is going to defend him as, this is a good guy. He is a government, politician. We know what they all say. Yeah, Mac brings up another good journalist, Whitney Webb. It's great. There are good ones, but the regular corporate journalists, where you get voting third party as the enemy of is a threat to democracy, right? Like,
well, and she was the former comms director. Was that for the RNC?
For the GOP, yeah.
Oh my gosh, the comms director, like that. You shaped the message. You put it out for the party. She wasn't just some advisor. Yeah, she was the comms director.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
The birthplace of authentic journalism.
It's just wild. Why do people think that going to have a conversation with somebody is somehow an endorsement of everything that they've done? Having a conversation with people is literally how things get resolved in the most peaceful.
Don't you want Vladimir Putin on the record in his own view, in his own words? Don't you want him on the record? Normal people would, but the corporate journalists don't, because then they have to actually contend with what he says versus the picture they try to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, questioning the narrative of the power elite is a threat to our democracy.
Yes.
Well, yeah. Just ask Michael Hastings.
Titled this episode "Threat to Democracy." I think everything we've talked about has been a threat to democracy.
Wasn't Michael Hastings? Wasn't he the Rolling Stone?
Yeah, the guy who got murdered in his car.
Yeah. Okay.
Michael Hastings. Yeah.
So, hey, your opinion then. Andrew Breitbart. Did he really have a heart attack, or was he heart attack?
Was it Podesta?
Yeah,
dude. At this point, anybody who's anywhere near journalism who dies suspiciously, I just assume they were murdered.
There we go.
Yeah, the whole Podesta
Breitbart thing was. I mean, the Hastings one, that dude was straight up murdered. There's just no possible way that he was driving over 100 miles an hour down La Brea Drive and drove straight into a friggin' palm tree.
Well, and there was a video released. The car caught on fire before it hit the tree.
Oh,
yeah. It's the craziest.
Then there's other ones,
I don't know
right?
about this.
Gary Webb, right?
Yeah. He was the one. He was the one in the '80s, right, about the Iran Contras.
Yeah,
that broke the drug running.
Yeah, hey, Jeremy Renner's in a great movie about that.
Yeah, I've watched that.
Yeah,
Kill the Messenger, I think it is.
What is it called?
Isn't that what it's called? Is it called Kill the Messenger?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but I did know he was in that. Okay, interesting. I gotta go watch that now.
Yeah, there we go. Zach's bringing up Seth Rich. I mean, that's clear as day that he was trying to get something out that he didn't like.
And then there was
there's a guy who's still alive. The guy who worked, who's been investigating Google for like a decade now, and his brake lines failed while his wife was driving.
What was it, like Dr. Robert Malone or whatever?
No, Robert Malone was the guy with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
This was this guy's been on Timcast a couple times.
But he's talking about the algorithm, right? Like how the algorithm works.
Yeah, how the algorithm works and how it's spying on you all the time. He's been releasing all this data for the past.
Was he kind of like a big guy, or is that the guy?
I don't know what he looks like.
Okay.
There was,
I just listened to these episodes.
There was. I'm trying to remember the name. I remember the whole situation being referred to as the octopus, but it was Danny. Why can't I remember the name? I think it was I think it was Italianish or something. I think he died in a West Virginia hotel or. Danny, it's on the tip of my tongue. Now I gotta go look.
Trejo.
No. I don't know. Zane, you're not speaking up about all of the conspiracy theories that we are.
Danny Casolero, that's what it is. And there's a Netflix special coming out on it.
Ooh, I like a good Netflix special. Although
there are
do they
journalists
real?
that will disappear conveniently, and there are also key eyewitnesses to certain events that will disappear conveniently.
I mean, we covered a lot of that in the Las Vegas episode.
I remember that
Yeah, I
one.
mean,
yeah.
So many eyewitnesses straight up died in suspicious circumstances.
Or were
certainly
murdered.
when you're certainly when you're talking about death of individual people, it becomes much easier for me to believe that it could have been a covert assassination, because it doesn't take, you know, a really grand scheme. Only a couple of people need to be in the know. And actually, just last night, I was listening to the new episode of the Dangerous History podcast, where the host was providing some commentary on a declassified assassination manual that the CIA had written in the 1950s. And, you know, it was going through, like, if you want to do a secret assassination, here's all the methods that you could do. And it's like, it's something that I didn't even know, but it's like out in the open now that, like, the CIA attempted to assassinate Charles de Gaulle, who is not just some random, you know, president of some Central American
we're not
country.
talking Fidel Castro here.
He was like the head of government of a country that we were supposedly close allies with. So
Is
it's
this
like,
over him
if
trying
the
to pull the
CIA
gold
would
back
do
home?
that, if the CIA would do that, and that's like, you know, public knowledge at this point that that's something that they tried to do.
There's
You know,
this over him
why wouldn't these
repatriating gold,
people
Zane?
attempt to? What was that?
Was this over him repatriating gold?
I don't know why exactly it was, but it's like, if the people in charge of the CIA had no qualms about doing that, I can certainly see why they would have no qualms about, you know, trying to assassinate other people. And, you know, my main I mean, JFK especially. I over the past couple of years, I've definitely come around on that one, because
That's
like,
interesting.
If you're talking about an assassination, not a lot of people need to be in on it,
right?
And it can be very easy to cover your tracks in a way that, you know, my main critique of a lot of conspiracy theories is that there is no way that this could have been pulled off without it leaking. But if you're talking about something that can be accomplished with a very small group of people, it's a lot easier to keep that under wraps for at least long enough that nobody cares anymore. Like,
this is what they did during
my favorite example of this happening recently is that you know, the fact that Hunter Biden was under investigation by the DOJ the entire time that Trump was being impeached over him asking Ukraine to investigate Hunter Biden. That was happening for years, and it did not leak, because if the FBI or the DOJ really doesn't want something to leak, it won't, at least not for a little while.
How many times do you think Charles de Gaulle had an assassination attempt on his life?
I don't know.
Hundreds.
Over 30 times.
Is this a real number?
I'm literally reading it right now. He's
Charles de Gaulle almost over 30 times.
Over 30 times.
As president,
napalm bombs. I mean, countless assassination attempts. 140 bullets were shot at his car as he was traveling from the palace to an airport.
Did he get bulletproof windows by this point? That's crazy.
Jeez.
They show all of the all the bullet holes. This is wild.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's more than Tupac. I mean, like, that's
along the same lines what Zane was just saying. Like, they do the same thing. They did the same thing during COVID. They didn't take down. They tried to take down Rogan, but they didn't. But they take down anybody who has no say and no power and no notoriety. So there were countless numbers of people with 1,000 followers, 300 subscribers, 400 subscribers, talking about what the actual, what the truth was that was going on. And, you know, they just disappear because they don't have a big enough following to make a stir once they get banned. And so they do the same thing with murdering people. It's the same principle.
Well, Laura Loomer was actually one of them. I mean, like, she was, I guess maybe she was somebody, because she was a Breitbart reporter.
Right.
You know, she had a good following. She was on Alex Jones regularly. She was, you know, she was on some of the others and had her own thing going on too. And I remember she came on Alex Jones one time and she was talking about, like, she can't even order takeout food. Like, it was like Instacart, DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, like none of those. Venmo, Cash App, like she couldn't use those at all. There was like one specific bank in town that would still do business with her. And somehow she managed to run for U.S. Senate in Trump's district where he lives.
House, and it was she wouldn't even get verified on Twitter at that point. Like they were saying they'd verify all candidates, and they refused to verify her or give her an account or anything, I think.
Right.
I mean, she's turned into, she used to be like, she's turned into such a whack job though.
Yeah, no, she's a whack job.
Like at one point it was like, okay, and then I've heard her, like anything I've heard from her in the past like 2-3 years, it's just been like, this lady's insane.
Well, yeah. I mean,
although it must have,
like that's a lot.
I mean, like, well, I mean, we're talking about someone who handcuffed herself outside of the Twitter headquarters, the Twitter offices in New York.
Right.
So to circle back, I was trying to find this particular case, and in my notes I've got like, well, a million things, but Dorothy Kilgallen was apparently a journalist in the time of like JFK, and she said she was apparently telling some of her friends that she was working on information that was gonna like blow the case open or whatever, and then she was found dead in her town home, apparently overdosed or whatever.
Well, yeah,
and all
on drugs, Alden. Like,
and we could do a crossover into medical journalism too. So you had
Mary's monkeys.
You know, here.
Pause, Stephen. What?
Yeah,
Alden, did you have something to finish with that one?
Well, I was just gonna say all her work was gone, and you know it was.
She burned it right before she killed herself.
Oh yeah, conveniently, right. And I was gonna cross-pollinate this with when Marilyn Monroe died around the same time. It was ruled a robbery, but nothing was missing from her apartment, and she was like, 2 taps to the head kind of thing, like, or whatever. And anyway, there's layers of this even just within the one case, just with the JFK, of like there's so many key eyewitnesses that were attacked or threatened, or brakes went out, or like shot in the head, and like ruled a robbery, but nothing was taken, or like just a suicide, but all the research is missing, or whatever. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, and then so around here, Metro Atlanta, within the last 10 years, I don't remember the exact year, there's a guy named Dr. Bradstreet that came out and said that he got I think it was his stepson, got him off the spectrum. The boy was autistic, and he was treating him with some kind, it was like a GCMAF protein, I think it was. You'll have to research this. I'm going off the top of my head here.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's going out for a jog one morning and just decides to go face first in the creek.
Yeah.
And just
as one does. I mean, I get those.
But then the weird part was there was like 10 or 15 other naturopathic doctors that were looking for natural cures to things like autism and cancer that were on the cusp of some groundbreaking stuff, and they all die too.
Yeah, we're not supposed to cure
things. Just coincidence.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was 4 of them, at least in the state of Georgia, that committed suicide within 3 to 6 months of each other.
Or people that file for patents for water-based cars.
Yeah. There's so many of those videos coming out on YouTube now, and on Instagram and all sorts of stuff.
Those are hard to vet. I mention them sometimes, but they're
hard to know if they're actually real.
They're given, some of them are given patents for various steps in the process for the engine,
right?
Or whatever.
But a patent doesn't require you prove anything.
I understand. That's why I said it's hard to vet. Yeah.
I mean, the problem with water-based cars, at least right now, is it takes way more energy to actually split the water into the component hydrogen and oxygen atoms than you actually get out after you've done that. So it destroys energy.
Which is a law of thermodynamics. Like, you can't create energy out of nothing. So
wait, I think we just saw Baby Isaac. Did we just see Baby Isaac?
Multiple times. I feel like it's still interesting.
Hi.
Hey,
Mary.
I totally did. I said, turn off your camera, and he said, turn it off, and I'm like, yeah, and he didn't turn it off.
Look at the baby.
I'm wearing him because he had been crying the whole time you guys were doing your podcast.
Oh my gosh!
There we go. Turn your head over there, guy.
There we go.
Baby. Oh.
Look at the baby.
Oh my gosh!
There we go.
Little ginger boy.
Freaking adorable.
There we go.
Yeah,
there we are.
You'll have to catch him early with his evil
Mr.
ways.
Isaac.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac, welcome to
just
the
like
show,
you.
buddy. That was great. That was great. Yeah. I mean, Zach says beautiful family. Beautiful
Yeah.
family. Heck
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, all this leads literally. I mean, everything we've talked about tonight has been very synergistic with what I've planned for us to talk about next. So, Zach, let's go to the next one.
Is it another threat to democracy?
No, it's the CIA creating a new world.
Oh, okay.
It's the CIA being a
A South
threat to other
American
people's
country which has had its
democracies.
government overthrown by the CIA since 1947.
Hello.
Costa Rica in 1948, Guatemala 1954, El Salvador 1979, Nicaragua 1981, Panama 1989, Paraguay 1954, Brazil 1964, Peru 1968, Chile 1973, Uruguay 1973, Argentina 1976, and Venezuela in 2002. Many of these were perceived as ideologically opposed to the United States, were leftist dictatorships, or were some combination of the two.
I mean,
So
Yeah.
first off, shout out to El Salvador for reelecting Bukele.
yes.
There we go.
Shout out to El Salvador. Bravo.
But I thought Venezuela was supposed to be a right-wing dictatorship.
I'm confused by everything, Stephen. Why does CIA want to change this? I don't get it.
Right.
Why would the CIA overthrow the commies in Chile and install?
I mean, it's
Oh yeah. Well, and Zane, you mentioned the dangerous
Okay.
history. Let's get into the United Fruit Company becoming Chiquita, right? Like, hey, let's just rename it. All the sins go away if we just have a different name.
Well, that's what happens when Bayer buys Monsanto, right?
right. I mean, how is Bear still around? They literally began their company by murdering a bunch of Jewish women.
Zyklon B.
Yeah.
That's how you get your start, you know?
They
The
murdered,
chlorine gas.
they murdered what, like 600 Jewish women?
Wasn't that
they
another
kept them
trivia
out for
question that
product?
we talked about?
Well, and look at you got to track it all down too, because now that Monsanto has bought Bayer,
Yeah, we
Is it that way?
We do have to thank them for
No,
that.
Bayer bought
They
Monsanto.
invented
Yeah.
it, so we got to thank them for that.
there we go. Yeah. But since Monsanto bought Bayer, IG Farben is almost reassembled, which was the big Nazi pharmaceutical company. Like, there was two of them that just went totally belly up not long after they got split together. But
Okay.
then, through a series of different, splits and mergers and accumulations, IG Farben is almost reassembled in modern day Monsanto.
Well, they've really got all the Infinity Stones.
All they have to do is snap their fingers and you get Roundup cancer.
My biggest question with this one is like, if we see the CIA doing this and we know that they've done it in that many countries on our continent and the continent connected to ours, why do people find it so impossible that the CIA would conduct similar operations within the United States?
They're not supposed to on paper, but they fucking do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
And back
shouldn't be
to the
overthrowing any government, right? I mean, that's only the South America governments. I mean, we're not even talking about Iran overthrowing Mossadegh, or
and I hate to say it like this too, but Jesus wouldn't let it happen. No way. Like that's your average Republican, right? Is just
because Jesus doesn't let kids get cancer or any other bad things in the world.
That's exactly right.
Never happens.
And we're talking about the blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus that votes Republican and protects America.
He didn't let Nikki Haley win, so.
I mean, it goes back also to like Confessions of an Economic Hitman, right? If you've ever read that. Anyone?
Nope.
No.
No.
Well, basically, the whole story on that. The author John Perkins, he worked for, one of these international consulting agencies. They go around, they sell a country on, hey, here's this infrastructure plan, World Bank, IMF, here's your loans, and then basically, you're gonna pay. They sell you a product that you're never going to be able to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And then they come in and the American companies loot everything for all it's worth. And, there's the whole talk in that book was, if said leadership of the country wouldn't, comply to the hey, you're going to do this to us, the veiled threats, then the quote unquote jackals would come in behind them.
I love a good jackal.
Yeah, this is exactly what they did to the Congo in the 50s, I think, where they had a prime minister who maybe was a little bit of a commie. I don't know that much about him. I think his name was Lumumba, but the CIA didn't like him because he wasn't playing ball. So they overthrew him and executed him pretty much. And then they installed a new guy that approved this huge infrastructure project where they were going to build like these power lines across the entire country. But it's like before the entire project was even done, the part of the lines that they had built first were already so rusted that they didn't even work. So they had a completely useless power grid and had gone billions in debt. And all the Western companies made bank. All the leadership of the Congo made bank because they're not personally paying for it, obviously. But
Because they
it really ruined the country.
They're using ungalvanized steel and like 100% humidity jungle or whatever. And
like a lot of this has reemerged even with like what Alex Gladstein's IMF and World Bank folks in the whole Bitcoin community talking about like Bangladesh, where instead of basically subsistence farming, the population gets sold out to the point where the country's expected to produce shrimp. So now the fields that were producing crops have turned into saltwater shrimp habitats, meaning you're never going to grow anything there again because you've salted the land. And then you're importing, the shrimp overseas, and you're forcing these people who were growing and making their own food to basically then have to take what little meager money they get after, the government takes their cut and everyone else takes their cut. And, the poor farmers get their little bit to then have to go buy food from somewhere else to cover, these crazy projects. And it's all kind of this interconnected web of insanity.
It's wild.
And these companies that'll do this kind of thing, they get a fine that is so much smaller than the profits that they make when they do it. So they're incentivized to just do it again. And so then you get like ExxonMobil has done this with like different countries, I think the Ivory Coast or whatever, and they make these huge deals and they come set up. It's like a pump and dump kind of thing that, as far as like an oil pun there, but and then they make a mess of the land, and because it's not the United States soil, there's no one that's going to be like, the NIMBY effect, the not in my backyard thing. So no one's like cares here, enough that if they're destroying it, so they don't have the same rules and they don't follow the same things, and they cut a lot of corners, and so they destroy the land. They can't, they drink their fresh water or grow anymore because it's so polluted, and then they leave, and then they have these like accounting errors where they're like, oh, we haven't been able to track what we owe you. Whoops, sorry, we'll get back to you, and then they never do, and then they get a fine that's like $10 million, and it's like they made billions of dollars, like, and so they don't care about $10 million or whatever. I'm making up numbers, but it's percentage wise about the same fucking laughable amount. And they just set up shop in another country.
There's local municipalities here in the state of Georgia that you'd be shocked if you do have any. You have to do deliberate searches to look for this stuff, but they have sanitary sewer lines, big old trunk lines of just city doo-doo just leaking into creeks and streams and rivers, and it's cheaper for them to pay the fine.
Yeah, than to fix it.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, y'all.
And it doesn't make front page news. It's tucked in the back, and you look at it like, oh, you've been leaking 10,000 gallons a day for the last 9 months? Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah.
I swim there.
That explains a lot. No.
Yeah, right.
All right, y'all. I think that's it for the serious political talk for the evening.
Get some sillies.
Let's get some sillies. Happy to have the 5 originals back on the show for once. We don't get this very often, so appreciate y'all coming on.
Glad to be here.
It's been
man.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's watch some stupid things real quick.
Stupid things.
Yeah. We'll just watch the cat.
Oh man,
It took me a second to realize what was happening.
me too. The second time I like locked it in, but the first time I was really unsure what was going on.
All right, so this is a toilet that every Italian needs in their house.
Oh yeah.
It's got the like Vesper on it. That's awesome.
The handle literally flushes the toilet.
Hey, would that cost 10% more in 5 years?
I mean, that's incredible. That is some
Yeah.
fantastic innovation right there. All right, best dad joke. Here we go.
I told my wife I could make a car out of spaghetti. You should have seen her face when I drove past her.
Oh my god.
Oh.
Come on. That's so good. That only works with a British or Australian accent.
That was so bad.
Pasta.
Pasta. That's so good.
Yeah.
Then we're going to end the night with some Brian Callen, some great political humor here.
Choose to be a liberal or a conservative. I think it chooses you. I do. I think you have a series of personality traits that you didn't choose that just cause you to align right or align left. I think a society runs that way because there are certain jobs that require somebody who's more, I don't know, intuitive and run by their heart and emotional and open to change, you know? And then there are people who don't like change. They're way more mathematical and practical, and they don't like this fucking wishy-washy stuff. You believe in positive reinforcement. I believe in fucking punishment because there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And some people are like, that's great, but I mean, can't we just stay open to all possibilities? Liberals are like, let's adopt that dog. And conservatives are like, who's gonna fucking walk it? And I think we need each other. I don't think you choose to be a...
So that is, first of all, the body work that he's doing on this is hilarious.
Perfect.
And it like really makes that bit. But I do
Yeah, it
think that
makes
there's a lot of truth to this, and I do think that when you get out of the political sense of it, when you get into like what Jordan Peterson would maybe describe as like liberal and conservative and like ways of like thinking and feeling in the world more, you know.
Yeah.
I do think we need each other. I think that we balance each other out. I think we're parts of a whole, and we have this like winner take all, like I'm right, you're wrong thing. And it's like, no, you idiot. Like you think one way and you keep us in check on one thing, and you know, they keep you in check, whatever. Like it's supposed to be that like we're all different and we're all supposed to like get different jobs, so like play to your strengths. Like you like don't make the sensitive artsy person go to war, you fucking idiot. Like don't do that. Like, and don't make the fucking jarhead like paint paintings unless that's what they also want to do. But like
hold on. You know, it was the Greeks that were able to fend off Persia. You know,
all right, I picked bad examples, yeah.
Right.
I picked that, whatever. But the thing is, like, play to your strengths and whatever. It's parts of a whole, is what I'm saying. It's like, but we have the winner take all thing or whatever.
You know
well, I think that you're a threat to our democracy.
Oh yeah, I'm used to that. That's okay.
You know what my favorite part of this episode has been, y'all? It's the fact that it looks like Alden's screen is glowing onto my face.
It kind of does.
Got the blue
yeah,
right onto my face.
You got like a monitor over there. We should like time it to where like I turn my lights
on my lights this week.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I got the orange and the blue, complementing colors.
Nice.
Do you have an actual background behind you, Jake, or is that green screened?
Green screen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's not the end of the world with Bitcoin rocket going up into the sky.
It's a rocket that's just paused. Yeah.
Or Bitcoin moon or sun or whatever you want to say. Grumpy says good night, yo.
Good night, Grumpy.
Night, Grumpy.
Grumpy.
Well, y'all, this has been a great episode. Really, like I said, really enjoyed having everybody back. It's been a while since we've had everybody on the show. Yeah, love you guys. Anybody out
love
there
you guys.
watching? There are a few of you, so congrats for making it all the way to the end. You just sifted through a bunch of
you
BS
get
to this point.
a crate of rabbit eye wine. No.
Great.
Gosh, we've got to get them as a sponsor. I'm going to talk to them about that. All right, Free Georgia podcast every Monday night at 8 p.m. And as Zane would love for me to tell you, the Wrexham Texan every Sunday at noon. And come back every week for more Liberty Libations. We'll see y'all next week, Bill. Peace.
Cheers.